Getting super
What's up, Gloucester
high-tech.
Township? I'm Joe Allen here with Keith Gibbons, and we've got a guest. We've got a guest for this show here. Let's introduce our guest.
Sam Sweet.
Everybody knows he doesn't even need an introduction, does he?
No.
He's Sam Sweet. He's from Ariel.
The historic village. Look how talkative he is tonight.
He is. He's pulling his Ray Henry impression tonight.
Yeah, right.
Not really, not yet. I'm glad to be back here, and glad to be part of the podcast.
Yeah, it's been.
It's been a little while. It's probably over a month now at this point.
It's been. We've been since before Christmas.
Holidays and New Year's and renovations and all kinds of stuff going on here.
So man, a lot's been going on. Couldn't get a podcast started. That's a lot's changed too, man. It's a new year. When we last left you guys,
I think it was December 11th podcast or December 11th episode, and then we went into
a tiny bit of hope for the Eagles.
Oh yeah,
and then that went away. The Flyers were good.
That went away.
That's also going away.
Still have the Sixers.
Oh yeah.
Have no idea what happens with the Sixers. I've never watched. I watched basketball last year. So
Joel Embiid had a historic
70
night the other night. 70 points.
70 points. Yeah. I don't know anything about basketball, but I know that much. So a lot has changed.
Yeah. So we have a couple things to catch up on. We're going to try to rifle through these. We don't have a lot of clips pulled. Well, we do, but we're kind of cutting them out to try to get caught back up, to try to get back on a regular, somewhat semi-regular schedule. But there were a couple key points that we wanted to take note of, and we'll start on the 27th was the
December 27th was the next meeting after the last show that we did. So not a whole lot going on at the end of the year. There was some talk of really the biggest talk in that meeting was some people had some questions about the MUA. As you know, the MUA went away. It was dissolved and brought into under the township's rule, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, it went from, I forget the way it goes. It was an authority or it was a utility, and now it's an authority, or vice versa, one way or the other. I'm not sure.
I guess it was an authority, and now it's just a utility under the township.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest things,
and everything.
One of the biggest things that everybody questioned was they had a $6 million surplus, and then.
But the MUA called that surplus almost a savings account. Like, hey, if something catastrophic happens, we have the money already set aside, so we do not have to go and borrow it, bond it or anything like that. We have it in the account to just, boop, we're not have to raise any prices or anything like that. It was kind of like a savings account. So they had to take this in front of the local finance board in order to get the approval to do this. And they love putting I don't want to say blame, but like the decision on the local finance board. And it's like, this was their decision. They said it was fine. Hey, idiot, guess what? It's not us. It was them. They're the ones that said it. Well, it didn't get to that point until someone filled out an extensive application to ask permission to do this, and then they approved it.
To do all these great savings.
All the blame, we'll call it, or whatever you want to call it, all the ownership goes on the local finance board as a scapegoat.
It's like the state too. The state is
always prescribes that. Oh, did they? Really?
This is how the state tells us that we have to do it.
Oh, no, we should do it.
Yeah, we should do it.
They prescribe.
Just because somebody should be done doesn't mean that it.
Something can be done.
Shouldn't be done.
And as our friend Ray has said most of the time, look, New Jersey is not the state that you want to model after.
Right. Yeah.
So just because the state says that you can do it, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should do it that way.
Yeah. So on the meeting on the 27th, there was a local resident, Ira, who stood up and asked a question about that and was kind of called out and said he needs to fact check himself, right? So let's play that clip.
Well, so the first part of this clip, first part of this clip is they never say his name right, and it's just
intentionally. They know it's like we call Caitlin Garcia, like Carolyn Grace. Her name's Caitlin because she can't remember our name. She doesn't care enough to remember anybody else's name.
So Ira Eckstein is always called Ira Eckstein, and I think
it crawls up his crawl.
It gets him. So, but anyway, Ira wants to know what was the savings. When you decided all this.
No, he wanted to know about the overcharging. They said they overcharged.
That comes next.
Okay, all right.
The first thing he wanted to know was.
It's a long time ago. I forget.
What is the savings?
Ira Stein, Lenox. I got a couple questions about the MUA being taken up.
Okay.
You were the liaison for the council?
Yes, I was.
Did you have any input into what or you were aware of what the anticipated benefits monetarily would be for the residents?
It would be a reduction in a duplication of services. That was one of the main things, and then would streamline services to the town. But as far as a figure, no, I wasn't intimately involved in the financial aspect.
Oh, intimately involved.
Okay, so again, big savings coming. Nobody knows really what they are.
They've been asked that multiple times of what to quantify it into a ballpark. What do you think it'll be?
Second thing that came up was Ira alluded to the fact that people said that the $6 million in surplus they had, that they wouldn't have got this surplus unless they were overcharging.
Right, like frivolously overcharging.
So Ira says, well, hey, now that they're not going to be overcharging anymore, where's our savings? I got my bill. Where's my savings? And their point was,
we never said that.
We never said that. So here's this interaction.
Well, the next question is, the new bills came out. And comments have been made, Mr. Cardis made it a couple times, that the MUA was overcharging the residents. And that's why the $6 million existed.
I don't believe Mr. Carr's ever made that comment.
Yeah, he did.
No.
My question is, how come the bills didn't go down?
I didn't make that comment, number one. And I refute what you just said. I may have indicated that it is our desire to hopefully reduce those bills, but I never said that they were overcharged. You need to fact check yourself and let me know.
Fact check yourself.
All right. So yeah, a good bit of public representation there from Cardis being.
Well, the thing that kills me about everyone on that dais and what anybody elected or whatever that feels that they're above you or whatever you want to call it always says when they claim they didn't say something or something didn't. It has to do with semantics, and he can truthfully say, I never said that, meaning I never said those exact words how you said that I said that, but the spirit of what he said was the same spirit of what I was saying.
He could literally
sit there
say,
and basically say,
they're
like, you're lying,
you too
I
much.
never said that. You're right. You never said those exact words, but I also didn't claim that I'm quoting you verbatim. Right?
Cardis could say, well, they charge you too much. And then Ira could say, remember when you said they overcharged us? He goes, I never said they overcharged us.
Right.
I said they charged us too much. So here is
did you fact check them?
Yeah, so we kind of dug back with a little bit of help from some friends, and there's a little bit of an interaction here.
This and combine professionals and other things like that. We expect savings.
How could you not have
Not to mention
a good idea?
Not to mention the surplus balance that's sitting there of almost $6.3 million on a $5.1 million budget. I mean, how can you ignore that? Even the local finance board took note of that.
Okay, but that's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is, on a yearly basis, you really don't have any idea how much money this is going to save.
You're going to save money. I can't tell you the exact amount of money, Denise.
I'm not saying exact. I'm saying if this has been worked on for a very long time, and I'm assuming that some very smart people worked on this, it seems to me that you should have a general idea of what percentage of money you're going to
see.
save.
Commit to a figure here.
I'm not asking you to commit, but if Pete is saying $70,000, that hardly seems worthwhile.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Carter,
That's not an answer.
if you can accumulate $6 million in a bank, and we're taking it over, doesn't that by definition indicate that we're gonna be able to find savings?
No?
Okay, then I can't convince you. How do you accumulate $6 million if you're billing for services, okay, and you bill in excess of what you need, and you accumulate $6 million?
Mhm.
Doesn't that by
The
definition?
township has a surplus every year, don't they?
Doesn't that?
Does the township have a surplus every year?
80 million?
Yes.
Doesn't that by definition suggest that there's tremendous savings that can be had?
Well, by the township having a surplus every year, does that suggest that the township is overbilling its residents also?
A $3 million surplus on a $75 million budget?
So if he's saying $70,000 and you're telling me you really don't have any idea,
$3 million.
that's how much money we're gonna save, $6.3 million.
That's what they have sitting in this surplus.
Yeah, I know, that's the money that the township is getting to balance our budget. this
Oh
year.
my God, they pissed me off so
$5
much.
million budget, $3 million surplus. Something's not right there.
Okay.
So him and Dan, who's no longer with us, who lied about the senior tax cuts to get on assembly, even though we all knew it was not going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, him and Dan went back and forth, basically saying,
Exactly
when
what
you
I
charge,
said.
the exact words, when you charge in excess of what you need,
To the tune of
Overcharging.
$6
It
million.
sounds-
Well, for the record, he did not say overcharging. So
he did not
Well,
say
that
so.
was my point.
Yeah,
So
It's
semantics
semantics.
is-
Yeah.
It's semantics.
He didn't-
I
he
never
didn't-
said that. You're right, you didn't. But
But if you charge in excess, like if you look up the definition, we can look it up right now of overcharging. It would say charging in excess of what is
Exactly.
due.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
semantically, he's correct. He didn't say it, but
Right. And you're the a-hole for telling him that he said it. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
But that's the attitude that they have.
But here's the other issue too. How many people are going to go back and watch?
They're not. That's why we
back
have
in May.
this
That's why we
podcast,
have. That's why we're here.
yeah.
But
so
but a lot of people are going to believe when Cardis is adamant about it and says,
Yep.
"Fact check yourself." Well,
Okay, we did.
but we did now.
yeah. So well, yeah, we probably should have given this. Probably should have given that video to. We should take tablets with this stuff preloaded on it, so when they say fact check yourself, we just give the residents, hey, by the way, we fact checked your
That's
last
not
claim.
doing anything.
Here, give
Yeah.
this to them.
Yeah.
So, yes, we good thing we take. Not only do we do a podcast on every meeting, we take notes. We keep notes so that we can search
Copious
different
notes,
things
right?
that happens. Yeah, we should probably do like a wiki for people that just want to know when
Yeah.
something happened, because we have all
I
the
got enough
notes
to
for
do
the
than
last.
maintaining a wiki. But,
We probably have notes for a year and a half now, council meetings.
yeah, I have them back to 2020 every
So
single
okay,
meeting.
even further than I do then. So yeah, but that was
I go back to 16. Just saying.
He won't give you the answers though when you ask him. He won't tell you. He keeps it for himself.
he keeps it.
Oh man! All right,
so
that was pretty much the 27th.
At the end of that meeting, so that was the final meeting of the year. So we bid farewell to Councilwoman Helen Albright Troxel. It was to be her final meeting as a councilwoman. She said farewell to everyone. I did not clip it. I forget why I didn't clip it. I think she rambles sometimes, so I didn't want to clip it. But I also.
But little did we know.
Also had a feeling we probably will see Helen Albright Troxel again.
I'm almost guaranteeing it.
So yeah, that was
no spoiler alerts there.
Yeah, that was the meeting for that, and then the next meeting up was the.
So every year they have a after election year. Every year, I guess they have a
every year.
reorganization meeting and vote for a council president, vice president.
Yeah. So
Blah blah blah.
Every
So-
year they have the reorg meeting, like you said.
Right.
Okay. But every other year is where they actually swear in everybody,
Right.
or the new people that are
Yeah.
on
Right. They're
council.
elected. Yeah.
This is one of the meetings that the mayor actually shows up for.
Correct.
You
There's
know.
because there's cameras there. There's a whole ceremony that he swears them in.
It's one of probably, I would say, 5 meetings that he's at during the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably about right. It's probably about 5. Probably about 5 meetings or so. So in this meeting,
No, I
have,
didn't watch this. I was not there. I had other things going on in my life and wasn't able to be these things. So I'm gonna rely on you two to carry me through this one.
I did watch this one. This one was a this one was a tough watch because it was.
You ran this year and you should have been sworn in.
It was a
according
could
to your-
have been me moment. Yeah. So
Yeah, it could have been you.
You know, I did not go as like Keith. I had other things going on in my life at the time,
Yeah.
so I could not make the meeting. But I've been there, and I was in your shoes, Joe, a couple times watching that meeting,
Yeah.
thinking, you know, and it's a tough watch there. But the interesting thing is all the nominations that come out of that, and then you realize when you look at the list of all the nominations, how much power council and the mayor actually have,
Oh, yeah.
because they're nominating people not only for the planning board but the zoning board. They're nominating the council. They're nominating and each reorg meeting.
Oh,
is a different-
vendors too, right? They have,
some vendors there as
yeah.
well for
Yeah.
for council judges as well.
Yeah.
Each one is different, and it's just amazing to watch and to read. Like some of the names there, and you'll see some of the names are recycled
Yep.
from years past. Not to bring up phantom candidates, but a lot of those names are phantom candidates.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you see them like, hey, how do I know that person? Oh, well, because they're
Oh, yeah.
ran
They
as a
were just
phantom candidate.
Name
So
on the ballot.
the
That
amount of
wasn't even running.
power that they actually have it's amazing to
Yeah.
watch, and kind of daunting in a way, because if somebody does replace them and does beat them, I've always said I'm going to have the oh crap moment if that happens.
Yeah. There's a lot to
Oh
work.
my God,
to do.
what am I going to do? I've got to nominate people. Oh my God, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've had that while you were running too.
Oh yeah. Oh, there were. Yeah. I mean, when we set out to do this, at the beginning of 2023, it was all right. When we win, what are the first things we do? And it was laid out over like months of what we're gonna do. Like, what are we gonna do? And so yeah, to come across this meeting here was it was a tough watch, but we do have some new faces on council in 2024, or at least one and a half, I guess you could say. James Nash is a new face. James took over the Helen Albright Troxel's position. She did not run for re-election, so they brought in James Nash. They ran with James Nash. Mm-hmm. We've unlike other council members, we've had conversations with James Nash. I've talked to him outside of council. A great guy, I think. Actually walked his neighborhood and ran into him there. So I like what he has to say. I'm optimistic for James. And so James Nash was sworn in by David Mayer. Tara Walters, she's making her return. She replaced Stubbs.
Andrew Stubbs.
Yeah, Andrea
Yeah.
Stubbs. So she won she won for her re-election. She was also sworn in by Dave Mayer. Mike Mignone, who has been here for
A while.
he's quite a long time.
He is probably the second tenured council person outside of Orlando. Now that
Yeah.
Hutchinson is
Hutchinson's
left.
gone. He was sworn in by Senator-elect Paul Moriarty. Paul, formerly a assemblyman here. Orlando Mercado was sworn in by Assemblyman-elect, I guess, Dan Hutchinson. So that was
Okay.
so Dan, who was on council for years, In case you're not aware, Dan left council to go for
He ran
assembly.
for
LD4.
LD4. What's that?
LD4 assembly and
Legislative
LD4,
District 4.
Yes.
Yeah.
which kind of covers this area. Covers, I think, through Winslow.
Washington Township.
Yeah,
some
Washington
other-
Township. So yeah, those 4 were sworn in, and then they nominated a council president, and it was there were no other nominations other than Orlando Mercado, and Orlando
Chuck,
Mercado.
who else could do that? That's
Nobody.
No one. You heard
The only other
Troxel
person
said that people in the grocery store tell her how great of a job he does running that meeting.
Yes.
Even the public knows how great of a.
Yes,
I mean, who
yes.
else could do that?
No,
So-
nobody else can sit at the mayor's lap like Orlando Mercado. So he was sworn in, and the guy does. Look, if you want a guy on your team that's going to fight for you,
Oh yeah.
Orlando is the guy. He's rock solid as a president. Does exactly what they want him to do, and he does it well. I can't.
No, you can't. Not at all.
Yeah, you can't say that. Orlando was again sworn in as council president by Dan Hutchinson. So nominations for vice president solely on Mike Mignon.
He was so there was no change in those two.
No, they were
positions.
they were president and vice president previously. So Mike Mignon was sworn in as council vice president by Paul Moriarty also. And that was pretty much at the next point. Each member of council was given some time to do their introductory speech. So we have those speeches here. We can go start with Jim Nash first.
Well, first off, thank you very much for everyone for being here. Mayor, sorry, let me grab myself. Thank you, Mayor, for all your support over the years, and thank you so much for swearing me in tonight. Appreciate it. Also, want a big thank you to Orlando and Mike. I lived in GT for almost 40 years now, and never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that I would be local government. These two guys, they came, they saw something in me. I don't know what it was, but I want to thank you guys for doing that. But I do have to be honest. When you guys first came to me, it was about 4 years or so ago, my first thought was, I could probably get a free recycle can out of this. But here I am. So thank you very much, guys. Second off, to the entire team, from campaigning to inspirational texts from Dan, from everybody. I want to thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you. And finally, last but not least, the front 3 rows there, my biggest support system like that.
All right, so that was Jim's welcome speech. And
Free recycling can, huh? It's gonna be so much more, Jim. Don't worry.
oh, he's gonna get a lot. He'll get a lot. He'll get a lot of stuff if he plays the game. If he doesn't play the game, he may not get a lot, but he will gain art.
You'll definitely get that recycling.
He will get the
can,
respect from everybody
guarantee
else. But Tara was up next with her speech.
I also want to thank Mayor for serving me in tonight. It's an honor for you to serve me in.
Does she have her microphone?
Her
like
mic
this?
is actually facing the other way.
When I was a guest, I didn't hesitate. I talked to my husband, but I didn't hesitate going forward it. I'm being part of the township and community. I moved here for. So it's great to be sitting up here. It's new and it's exciting. So I want to thank Orlando, Mike, and Jim for our endless texts and encouragement to keep going and campaigning and never giving up. And Orlando, Mike, to show me and Jim what it is really to get out there and meet everybody and talk to them good or bad. So it was nice. It was fun. And nicely to my family, my husband, my kids, my mother, and my brothers for helping me, showing the kids, feeding the kids, just being there.
Tara's speech, hard to hear. The microphone's not great over there. Orlando was this was his speech.
I want to thank Assemblyman-elect Dan Hutchinson. We didn't start off as friends many years ago, and you saw me earn your ways. So, the first thing he ever said to me when he met me was at the rec center in November of 2005. He said, "You look thinner in person." I really appreciate that. But I appreciate you. I appreciate all the years you spent here. I will miss you. I wish you all the best. Thank you, Mayor David Mayer, for your support and leadership, and for the outstanding work relationship that we have, all of us, and the shared vision of moving our township forward. Thank you. To my colleagues, thank you for your trust that you placed in me. You gave me this wonderful honor of serving as president of council again, and everything we've accomplished over the last year and years, and everything to come begins and ends with your unwavering support. So I thank you for that. Jim, Tara, Michael, when you campaign with each other, folks, you have this bond, and you develop this special bond. And we share many hours and days and weeks and months together. And Jim and Tara, you trusted Michael and me to help you get us to the end. And Michael likes a lot of sports quotes, right, family? And I'll give you one from Flyers head coach Fred Shiro from the Stanley Cup. To win today, we walk together forever. All four of us have a special bond. Thank you for your to the residents of Gloucester Township, thank you for your support. Thank you for opening your doors and homes to us. We knocked on door after door, neighborhoods, all through 24 square miles of this township. We listened to you, and you kind of thought that what we were selling, what we were talking to you about, was how we can move this township forward. And November 7th, you told us that this is the direction that you want this township to move forward in. Keeping our township clean, keeping us safe, providing things that make our township a special place to be. And thank you to my entire family. I always tell everybody who wants to run, if your family's not behind you, this does not work. So I want to thank you for all your love and support over the years, and for your grace, encouragement, reassurance, and all you bring up the best.
What did he say there with the, if you wanted to run, well, all this doesn't work? What was that?
Without your family support.
Oh, okay.
But the takeaway that I got from that was we knocked on doors. You guys really liked what we were selling. And I thought, man, it was basically for the voter count of GT, 16% of people liked what they were selling. 12% of people didn't like what they were selling. And then 72% of people just didn't care.
Yeah.
They didn't care at all. So
you put the little pie chart up there.
I had to. Yeah, I was like, wait, people not necessarily didn't like what you were selling.
Yeah.
Most of them just didn't care what you were selling. So,
Well, a lot of it. I mean, Joe, you knocked on doors. I've knocked on doors, and a lot of it is one. In Gloucester Township, there's a lot of uninformed voters. Oh, there's an election coming up. And then two, it's like, who's running? And I just it just baffles my mind on how many people don't know that, people ran there was an election. And they're just like, we're going to keep these people. And then a lot of people also say, well, you're never going to change things. And to them, I go, it's that attitude that makes it, a self-fulfilling prophecy, because we have the numbers to vote them out if we want to vote them out. It's just a matter of getting them to come out to vote, or touching on a subject for them to come out to vote, whether it be turf fields, whether it be taxes, whether it be MUA, whether it be potholes or something. Yeah. But the problem is getting people out to vote, and I can't tell you how many times I had people go, I didn't vote, or I was busy, I couldn't get to the vote. And I know the mail by the mail ballots. There's always questions on that, but there's so much. They have early balloting now, or early voting, a week before, where they turn the machines
10
on.
days. Yeah, 10 days.
So anybody who says, I couldn't get there to vote, then they really don't want to vote. And,
exactly.
and that becomes the issue, is how do we get them because we have the numbers. It's just a matter of,
Yeah,
a call to arms.
It's a thing that's bugged me because I had moved away from Jersey for 10 years, and I'd always thought that New Jersey's that area that we don't take any shit from anybody, right? But at the same time,
they take the most.
They take the most. They take the biggest beating from their government that there is in the country.
Yep.
So in other places that I lived, people were more involved in their government. And man, when you go to polling locations, like you stood in lines to get in, and I lived in the middle of nowhere. I stood in lines and stuff to vote, and it's like here they just don't care, and it bugs me. It's such a cool thing to have the right to do. But yeah, 72% of our voters they didn't care enough to go and do any of it, and it wasn't a whole lot different in 2021 when we ran and we had a governor on the ballot. That's big. Like, sure, 2023 small election, not a whole lot going on. LD4, 21 a governor on the ballot, not a whole lot of extra voters there. So man, still, Mike Mignon though was the other one who gave a little speech here.
Lots said that I'm going to be repeating it. Senator Paul Moriarty, thank you very much for coming in. You sworn in actually 8 years ago. So I thank you very much for doing on again. Tonight you had twice. I thank you very much. This is my third term. So I've experienced a lot when me and my wife, Tara, decided to move to this township back in 2000. Philly. One of the things that goes down the road, and I noticed that wall fields. I came home and didn't have anybody in the field. And I was a little disheartened to see that because I'm like, I've grown up in the city. You're not fighting the field. Everybody wants to be in. I said, I hope one day I'm part of something that can help change it. And then I became part of the Little League, vice president there, and then I got an opportunity to fill those fields. And one of my mottos in life is get off the sidelines and into the game. Well, doing that is exactly what we do up here. And it's very peaceful, humbling to see friends here tonight to cheer us on, to support us, because it does take a team of friends to help us succeed. We can't do this alone up here. Yeah, we can't be Tara, Orlando, myself, Jim. It was a long summer. We were out there today campaigning to help continue the progress in this township. And that's what we're doing tonight, is the start of continuing the progress. It's my third term, but tonight is a start of continuing that progress in this township. I thank everybody. Mayor, thank you for being part of the team. To our chief of police, what we're doing in this township is fantastic. Orlando being a confidant of mine, helped show me the ropes for the last 8 years, and I'm really looking forward to the next years. Thank you all. Everybody have a great night. Be safe. Come home. Be great.
So inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, just kind of,
it's the same stuff all the time. It's we love the progress we're going. How do I put it? They do good things in this township, and I know the last time I said that at a council meeting, Carolyn Grace, attacked me and said that, I'm against them. They do good things in this township. But the way they go about doing certain of the things is just, it's expensive. It leads to taxes. It leads to, they don't want any questions. If you ask questions, they attack you. And that's done on purpose because they don't want, I can't tell you how many times people have said, I'm sure, Joe, you've said the same thing or heard the same thing is, why do you go up there? They're just going to attack you. How do you put up with that? I would attack them and, take a baseball bat is what I've heard, because I wouldn't have anybody talk to me that way. And I look at this township when 2004 to now, and yes, there's been progress. I'm not going to deny that. Then they've done a decent job, but they could do a better job. And the problem is a decent job isn't good enough, especially when you're dealing with, they constantly say, I can't tell you how many times I've heard, not only from them, but from people, taxes get raised in Jersey. Absolutely nothing we can do about it. But there are townships where the taxes have gone down the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Not a lot. I'm not saying it's a 10% decrease or 15%, but a 1% decrease, a 0.5% decrease. They've held the line. Galloway has done it. Pine Hill, Washington Township.
Well, how about even the other parts of your tax bill? It's not just one. It's not just council. There's the school, there's fire, there's county. How are the other aspects of the same town able to
Just hold the
keep
line.
the line?
Yeah.
And one other part's not. How is that? You know what I mean? Like, there's something to be said for that too.
Yeah, exactly. And they hold the line, but yet council will, raise taxes, and you know what's coming. This is 2024, non-election year.
Yeah, we got one this year.
And every year, they, every even
Yeah,
year,
it's coming, folks.
they raise taxes, and they did it in 2020 when, Pete Heimbaugh and myself were arguing about it. I said, "There's no way that they're going to raise taxes. There's absolutely no way. It's COVID.
Oh, right.
There's absolutely no way. Look at what other townships are doing, and then boom, what do we get? We get a 9.9% increase." And they was like, "Oh," and they blamed
one
COVID.
vote against it from Stubbs, and that was it. Everyone else,
Stubbs.
yep.
And then they got rid of her.
Yeah.
They pushed her out.
But yeah, it is the same. I mean, I've said it countless times too. It's like they do good things, right? It's just how you go about.
I mean, think about it. Think about it on your own personal budget, right? There's a lot of things I'd love to do with my house. If I had somebody else's wallet, they'd all be done.
Yeah.
I'd have a great house, but I don't. I'm on a budget.
And then if you're friends with the ones that were doing the jobs, like, you need whatever it is, put in. Oh, yep. My friend can do that. I'm going to use your money, and my friend's going to do that.
Yeah,
that job.
You can do great things with somebody else's money. So it's not hard. It's not hard to build the township up. If you want, they can do anything they actually want with the township. They could force all the people out of here that can't afford it.
Yeah.
And when those people leave, people from upstate where the taxes are higher will just come down and fill it.
Well,
my neighbors.
We're going to get into that coming up here, too, because they are legitimately going to force people out. There's some low-income housing units that were specifically targeted around a tax increase on their properties, which, what happens there? The rent is going to have to go up. It's just a trickle-down effect that's going to be, oh, I'm sorry, we didn't have anything. We couldn't help it kind of thing. And it's
But, back to Mike's speech, I didn't move here and look at the baseball fields empty and think, oh, I really got to do something about that. I moved here just to be close to family, and then I saw seniors who couldn't afford to live here anymore, almost in tears, and that's why I got involved. So I, like Mike said, you can't sit on the sidelines anymore. As to where he jumped off the sidelines and started beating up the old guys. I decided to come in and say, hey, I want to help. And of course, I didn't have the money and the backing to be a part of that. So, I'm back here on the sidelines, and Sam as well. We wanted to help, but we couldn't because, Mike and the machine have dominated that spot. So yeah. I mean, it's a feel good speech that he gave, but. He's a puppet for the machine, and as much of a nice guy as he probably is in person, he stands in the way of what some of us would like to accomplish. So after that, David Mayer. David Mayer gave his little speech here, thanking them for thanking the cogs in the machine for
being future men.
For being
let me just direct my comments first to all of you. And first of all, say thank you. Thank you so much for what you do and what you guys are going to do. To make this community a great place to live. This is a great place to live. And you're going to play a huge role in that. So thanks for taking time from your families to serve other families. That is very much appreciated. As Orlando mentioned, the great relationships that we have, so very important, because you cannot move a town forward if the governing body and the mayor doesn't get involved. We are very fortunate in this community, and I'm fortunate as a mayor to have
all of you on the council. Jim and Karen, you know, I was sitting there and I was thinking about the first time I was sworn in as a council person. This is a long time ago in 2002. But I remember that day, and you're going to remember this day. And you're going to look back one day and look at all the accomplishments that you have made as a member of the council. Council President, thank you for your continued leadership. Congratulations on another term, and Michael's another term as Vice President.
He's good, man. He's like every speech. He's like a cartoon politician.
In a good government, though, there would not be constant moving forward. There would always be a part of the representation that says, "Hey, wait, these people over here say this, and they have these questions."
Well, if you listen to that speech, he says, you know, I want to thank council for helping us move forward and all this. And we alluded
meaning
to
rubber stamping it, right?
Well, you said it, but essentially yes. But we alluded to the fact that he doesn't show up to many meetings unless there's a photo op.
Right.
And the reason is, you know, for years, why doesn't he show up? Well, if you go to other council meetings in, you know, Cherry Hill, Washington Township, the mayor shows up because they actually have maybe a Republican and a Democrat, and they have spirited debates at times. So the mayor, who's, you know, acting as the easiest way to explain is the mayor's kind of like the president with Tom Cardis, and they make the policies, and then council votes on it. Council being Congress, essentially.
Right. There's a separation of duties.
And right now there's no, you know, they have
no checks and balances whatsoever.
Well, no discussion either. Like, how many times we've all been to council meetings, and then they'll sit there and vote on something that I've stood up there. Joe, I know you've stood up there. You know, Joe D'Amico has stood up there. Pete Heinball, Denise, and we've said, how can you do this? We have questions. And then Mr. Cardis goes, well, if you emailed me the questions, I would have gotten you those answers. Well, did those answers that we asked go to those council members? There's no discussion. There's not, like, they just vote yes.
Here's the craziest part. When I first started getting involved, and before I actually understood all the laws and stuff like that, I legitimately thought that they all met beforehand and had these discussions and then agreed to them all and then went to the council meeting. I legitimately thought that.
So did I. And if you actually go back...
Because there is no discussions.
In 2017, Orlando said something, well, if you guys come to the agenda, the workshop meetings, that's where we discuss things. So I started going to the workshop meetings. And the workshop meetings, they didn't discuss council. I'm like, well, wait a minute, where's the capital budget? Why is the capital budget not being discussed at a workshop meeting? And what did they start doing? They start canceling that workshop right before the capital budget meeting.
Right.
The workshop meeting is canceled before the regular budget. So that way we don't have access to it before the meeting. And, you know, it goes to that they don't meet. And
but see, I as well, like the two of you said, assume there's discussion ahead of time. And I am on a board, so everything I say here is my own opinion and not that of any board I'm on. But there are definitely discussions that happen prior to a vote. So whether they happen with them or not, I can't say. However, knowing the process from school board of how that goes is when you have the agenda comes out to all of us in advance of it going to the public. So if you have a question on it, you can kind of ask that prior to it being made public to say, hey, this isn't right. That's not right. Why is this? You know what I mean? Like, those questions can be asked. It might not be a meeting because of sunshine laws of, you know, how meetings and all that happen. But those things, those conversations do happen where I'm involved. You know what I mean? I don't know. I can't speak to what, you know, what they have. But things are discussed with certain things or questions are asked prior to that. So sitting up there a lot of times when I just vote yes and don't like question something, it's because I have already questioned that. You know what I mean? And I'm not standing up for them and putting them, or, you know, and excusing any discussion from happening from the public. However, the process that I'm now familiar with happening, it does actually happen, and discussions are had, and it might not be everyone that's, you know what I mean, on the dais up there or on the board or whatever it is, because your question might be specific to, say, the business administrator, like to Cardis, and asking him, well, what the hell is this about? And as long as he gave you a satisfactory answer, maybe your questions are now dissolved. However, on the public side, I'd like to know what the hell you asked the public.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes into like Oprah requests of all that. But should that have to be like is part of the whole problem?
Well,
we as the public want to see like the dialogue that's happening back and forth. And I think that comes from like, when you see like a congressional hearing or something like that where people from like, whatever it is, like just say it's like social media where like, Jack sitting there and Mark's and all the owners of all, and you're drilling them for questions of stuff. I think that might be where it was leading all us to like, say about asking questions kind of thing. Well, but a lot of it happens behind the scenes, and I'm not to take this off the rails.
I have asked, Dan Hutchins, the last capital budget meeting, I asked if anybody had any questions. The capital budget is going to be issued sometime in February, March, and this is where they borrow, $5 to $8 million for different projects.
Right.
And again, I don't have a problem with the borrowing of it to get projects done. My problem is some of the things you don't need to borrow for because you're not getting to a job.
Right.
And we're, for instance, in this last meeting with the, and we'll get into it there, but the boilers.
Yeah.
All right. They borrowed $300,000 2 years ago, and they're paying interest on that.
Yeah.
It's a waste of money when they have shown repeatedly that they can borrow at a drop, drop of a hat.
Instantly, I need to borrow money. Okay, boom, done.
So
why are we doing it in advance?
But I've asked, does anybody have any questions? And Orlando goes, yes, I've had questions, and he'll list his questions, okay? And he's like, and I can show you the email, Mr. Sweet. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Hutchinson said, well, I asked a couple questions, and I got satisfactory answers. Well, what questions did you ask, Mr. Hutchinson? And the answer back to me was, I forget. Wait a minute. How did you forget? Did you email him? If I open your email. He's like, well, yeah, they may be an email, but I really didn't put them in writing. So you walked by Mr. Cardis' office and asked him a question, and then that was, and it's that disrespect.
Right.
That kind of like, well, I asked a question, but I'm not telling you what I asked because it's really no concern of yours. But yet, I'd like to know what you asked because at the same token, if you can come back and say, okay, we need to borrow this. This is the reason we're borrowing for the boilers early because we don't want to get hit with a $600,000 bill in 2024.
Well, I think, Sam, what you're saying is kind of the same thing I'm saying. He did ask the questions ahead of time, right? But then it goes into the mindset or the the power trip of like, I'm above you. I'm sitting up here. I don't need to answer what questions I ask. I don't remember. It's not important. It's not important to me.
But yet he does.
What you think. But that's the whole point is you work for us as the people. You just represent us. Me here should not be a pain in your ass. Like, you're being a pain in my ass as the public, you know what I mean? As the public asking a question of the people I represent. What did you ask? And you're acting as if I'm the one that's the a-hole here in this whole situation. And
well, I've stood up there and said several times, you are my elected officials.
Right.
So, and it is my God-given right to question my elected officials. And as my elected official, you should give me an answer, want to give me an answer. Because if you actually give me a decent answer, I'm going to walk away and go, okay, I understand that.
Yeah.
As much as Orlando and I butt heads at times and we disagree, there are times where he gives me the answer and it just says, here's the answer.
Yeah.
And, Mr. Sweet, you may disagree with it, but that's the answer. And I'm like, well, we're going to agree to disagree, but okay, I understand I understand your thinking.
Yeah.
Where the other ones don't do that. So I'm kind of want to see what the two new council people do, if there's a discussion, if they have questions, if they, what they do, not just a rubber stamp.
So in this new year here, we the last thing that we had in this meeting here was the assignment of committees. So each council member is assigned to a different area of the township. So we had the Blackwood Lake Advisory Committee went to Michelle Winters, who I believe she was that before as well, right? Mm-hmm. Historics and Scenic Preservation Committee is Jim Nash, who obviously he did not have that as he is a new position.
Maybe we can get him to do
A podcast?
some Moffat stuff.
Moffat Farm
stuff. Yeah.
Someone just recently was there that I heard her. She had a speech. What's her name? I'm drawing a blank, but she was just at a meeting talking about the same thing she brought up to council and preserving that Moffa's Farm. But we have the Housing Authority was Caitlin Garcia. She was the liaison for that last time as well.
Some people call her Carolyn Grace.
Right. Yeah, Carolyn Grace is the. Oh, that's her name. I'm sorry.
That's
I
I
mispronounce
can never remember her name.
Recreation and Parks is Mike Mignon, which I believe that was the same last time. Veterans Committee, Tara Walters. I didn't even know. Was that a committee last year?
I didn't actually remember that before, but
yeah, Sam's shaking his head yes. And then Multiple Dwelling Committee was Tom Cardis and Dave Mayer. I didn't know that was another committee as well.
I didn't recognize that one from before.
That is one from prior years as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was pretty much it for those two meetings there. Sorry, folks, again for taking such a long time in getting back to podcasting here and filling you guys in. But
yeah, we got what, one more?
Well,
yeah, we'll be catching you up. We have a January 8th, I think we have.
We doing that right now?
Yeah, we'll do that one shortly here. So
real
stay
quick,
tuned for that next one.
One thing that is there was a
Sam can't wait.
On the 1227 agenda there was an agreement, and this goes to, which is be interesting, is wages for all staff except full-time clerical shall be increased 2.5 retroactive to January 1, 2021.
21?
Mm-hmm.
So 2 years?
3.
3?
21, 22, and 23.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then effective January 1, 22.
Wow, that's a lump sum of... Wow.
So it'll be interesting. It's a good thing we have that MUA surplus to wipe out that 2.5 increase. But when the budget comes out...
Well, that will come in a non-election year, so don't worry about it. It's all good.
Yeah,
raise it to the roof, Sam. It's all right.
That's what I'm getting at, is, in 24, and then watch 25, they'll hold the line when the mayor is up for a re-election.
Somehow, and they'll tout about it. We kept taxes flat.
Yeah.
To Ray Polidoro's, flat is all the way up here. Yeah.
Well, as Ray would say, Ray goes, if I gain 15 pounds one year and then I don't gain any pounds the next year, I'm still 15 pounds overweight.
Right. Yeah.
And if I gain another 15 pounds, now I'm 30 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
And then, like when they were running this year, their big thing was, hey, we held taxes flat 2 out of the last 3 years. Well, you raised them every other year.
Yeah.
And you've raised them almost like 80% since you guys all took office. So
you can use that line every time you run because of how it's doing every other year.
How they do it.
Yeah. 2 out of the last 3 years.
And honestly, our memory is so bad that we never seem to remember the year before.
Well, we do. Other people don't, you mean?
72% of people. Yeah,
72%
well, it's more than that. It was what? It's 84%.
Well,
some people literally just do not care.
Well, no, it's not that they don't care.
88%.
I think it's...
No, I mean, it's they have a D next to their name. That's my vote.
Yeah, well 88%
but when it comes to taxes, if you go in and if we were to walk out of this podcast and start knocking on doors and ask people, do you think taxes can be, even, or do you think taxes get raised in Jersey?
They automatically go.
They're going to say, "Oh no, they get raised every year."
Yeah.
So then when you throw them that crumb of saying, "Hey, look, we held your taxes for this year," they're like, "Oh my God, what a great job!" Oh yeah, but now since you held it in 23, now you got to raise it in 24. Okay, yeah, we understand. But other townships are not doing it. Others,
it's literally a mind game.
And as you said, school board, fire district.
County even went down.
County went down, and yet our taxes go up every other year.
Yeah.
And when we ask them that, Ray has asked them, I have asked them, they're like, "Oh, well, no, you're mistaken on that.
You're lying.
You need to fact check that." And it has been fact checked several times.
Yeah. All right, so we'll wrap this one up here and
wrap this one up.
We'll see you
record
guys
the next
soon.
one for the next 2 meetings. So. Hey, if you guys haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. Let's get us to let's quadruple our viewers in here in 2024. And we will talk to you guys. We'll talk to you guys very soon.
All right, see you guys.
See y'all.